You gave that person everything. Your time, your patience, your loyalty, the softest and most unguarded parts of yourself. And no matter how much you gave, no matter how consistent you were or how deeply you cared, it never seemed to be enough to make them choose you the way you chose them. You told yourself you just needed to love them harder. That if you were patient enough, present enough, understanding enough, something would eventually shift and they would finally see what was right in front of them. But it never happened. And the most painful part was not the rejection, it was the confusion, because you could not understand why you kept loving someone who simply could not love you back. What if the answer was never about them at all? What if it was always about something much older than the two of you? Firstly, to understand why this happens, you have to go back much further than the relationship that broke your heart. You have to go back to the very first place you ever learned what love was supposed to feel like. Psychologists who study attachment theory, the branch of psychology that examines how human beings form emotional bonds, have consistently found that the patterns we develop in childhood with our earliest caregivers become the invisible blueprint we carry into every relationship we have as adults. If the love you received growing up was warm, consistent, and reliable, you likely grew up with what psychologists call a secure attachment style. But if the love you experienced was inconsistent, conditional, or emotionally unavailable, your nervous system learned something very different. It learned that love is something you earn, something you wait for, something that keeps you guessing. And without ever making a conscious decision, you began to seek out that same feeling in the people you fell for as an adult. Secondly, there is something specific that happens inside the brain when you love someone who cannot return that love. And understanding it is the key to understanding why it is so incredibly difficult to walk away. When you are in a state of unrequited love, your brain is not simply experiencing emotion. It is caught in a chemical loop that neurologists and psychologists have compared to the same cycle that drives compulsive behavior in other areas of life. Every small moment of attention from that person, a smile, a text, a brief moment of warmth, triggers a release of dopamine in the brain. Dopamine is the chemical associated with reward, pleasure, and motivation. And the crucial thing about this chemical is that it is not most powerfully released by consistent rewards. It is most powerfully released by unpredictable ones. This pattern, known as intermittent reinforcement, is one of the most psychologically potent forces in human behavior. It is the same mechanism behind why certain games are impossible to stop playing. The unpredictability of the reward is what keeps you reaching for it. Thirdly, there is a layer underneath all of this that goes even deeper than brain chemistry, and it has to do with the stories you have been telling yourself about what you deserve. Many people who find themselves repeatedly loving those who cannot love them back are not consciously choosing unavailable partners. They are unconsciously choosing partners whose emotional limitations confirm a belief they have been carrying for a very long time. The belief that they are not quite enough, not quite lovable enough to be fully chosen, not quite worthy of the kind of love that stays. This belief rarely announces itself out loud. It lives quietly in the background, shaping every choice, every response, every person you find yourself drawn to. And the most disorienting part is that people who carry this belief do not typically seek out partners who treat them badly. They seek out partners who keep them just uncertain enough to keep trying. Fourthly, the question that most people in this situation eventually ask is a painful one. Why them? Why? Out of everyone available, did I fall so completely for the one person who could not meet me where I was? And the answer that psychology consistently points toward is both humbling and deeply freeing. You did not fall for them, despite their emotional unavailability. On some level, and this is the part that takes real courage to sit with, you fell for them because of it. Not because you enjoy pain, but because unavailability felt familiar. Because the emotional distance they carried echoed something you had already learned to navigate. Something you already knew how to survive. Secure love, the kind that is consistent and present and freely given without conditions, can actually feel unsettling to someone whose nervous system was not raised on it. It can feel too easy, too exposed, too vulnerable. And so without realizing it, you gravitate toward the love that asks you to work. Because working for love is the only version of it your nervous system fully recognizes. Fifthly, and perhaps most importantly, none of this means you are broken. None of this means something is permanently wrong with you, or that you are destined to repeat this pattern forever. The entire field of attachment research rests on a finding that is genuinely hopeful, which is that attachment styles are not fixed. They can change. Not quickly and not without real self-awareness and real effort, but they absolutely can change. The people who break this cycle are not the ones who simply decide to make better choices. They are the ones who do the deeper work of understanding why they made the choices they did. They are the ones who learn to sit with the discomfort of secure love, rather than retreating to the familiar ache of unavailable love. They are the ones who eventually understood that what felt like chemistry was often just recognition. And that recognition of a wound is not the same thing as compatibility. The love you gave to someone who could not receive it was never wasted. It was evidence of your capacity to feel deeply, to commit fully, and to show up with everything you have. Those are not small things. Those are the qualities that make love real when it finally lands in a place that can hold it. If you have ever loved someone who could not love you back, I want you to hear this clearly. There was nothing wrong with you. You were not too much. You were not too little. You simply gave a deep and real love to someone who did not have the capacity to receive it. And that is not a reflection of your worth. It is a reflection of their limitations. But now you know why it happened. You understand the patterns, the brain chemistry, the childhood blueprints that quietly shaped every person you were drawn to. And knowledge like that does not just explain the past. It changes the future. The love you are capable of giving is not a burden. In the right hands, it is everything. So stop aiming it at closed doors. You were never meant to spend your life knocking. You were meant to walk through a door that was already open for you. If this video spoke to something you have been carrying for a long time, please give it a thumbs up right now, because it helps us reach the people who need to hear this most. And if you are not subscribed yet, this is your sign. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because every week we bring you content that helps you understand yourself and your relationships on a deeper level. Drop a comment below and tell us your story. Have you ever loved someone who could not love you back? We read every single comment, and this community is a safe place to be honest. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you in the next one.